So this is my 2019 setup tool that's mostly used for editing, isn't massively flashy. There's no triple monitors here, no water-cooled gaming rig, but it's mine. And for what I use it for, I really like it. So without further ado, let's get into it and see what I keep on and around my setup in 2019. First off, we have what's usually considered the centerpiece on any setup, the computer. So, first and foremost, I am a Mac user. Have been for the past 3 years, probably always will be. I initially bought one to work in Final Cut, but once I got used to it, the operating system, the stability in the programs, the stability in the Adobe suite are all so good, and while I know there are some incredible Windows machines, all of those features together, I think it'd be kind of hard for me to go back. In my case, this is the 2017 27-inch 5K iMac. My particular model is pretty much as mid-range as it gets. It has the quad-core i5, the Radeon Pro 575, 32GB of RAM, and a terabyte of SSD storage. I've had this thing for over a year now, and honestly, I can't see myself upgrading anytime soon. This screen, honestly, one of the best I've ever seen. It's got a 5K resolution, as the name would suggest, which just gives me a crazy amount of space to work with whenever I'm doing something like photo or video editing. It's nice and bright at 500 nits with the DCI P3 color space, which is simply fantastic for color grading. The specs may not seem like all that much on paper, but this thing never stutters or skips around in Premiere. Same goes for Final Cut and After Effects, and of course, making music in Logic Pro X is real time pretty much all of the time. I would say like 99.9% of the time it's real time. I'm serious, I've owned this machine for over a year, and in that time it's probably stuttered twice when I've been making music. That's probably due to my dumbass sample rates too. It also has a healthy selection of ports, because as some of you may have noticed, I am not one for keeping USB hubs on my desk. I just think it's unnecessary. Most of the USB hubs I've had in the past have just been super unreliable, so a good selection of ports with at least an SD card slot and multiple USB Type A's was essential, and the iMac provides just that. Overall, as I said before, this machine does everything I want it to, and it does it really well. And because of this, my iMac is going to remain the centerpiece of my setup for the foreseeable future. Underneath this, we actually have the Bangu Travolo S, which is still, to this date, my favorite portable speaker. I got sent a review sample a while back, and it always sits under my desk. A, so I don't lose it, and B, because it just looks great. It matches the desk, looks nice in the background of my B-roll, and fills the space from my iMac to the desk. And as portable speakers go, it's pretty damn good as well. As always, you can check out my full review up there, but it's actually an electrostatic speaker, and the sound that you get from it is like no other portable speaker I've tried before and since. Speaking of the desk, this is the Ikea Miko, which I've had for a good few years now, and it definitely shows its age. It's very scratched. I honestly don't even know how it got that scratched. They just suddenly appear. It's not anything I'm doing. I'm not just sitting here with a screwdriver going like they just happen. They're just there. I wake up, there's scratches. Now, I originally bought it because it has 2 drawers built in, which I used to use for this MacBook in the drawer monitor setup, but since I've moved to an iMac, it's just unnecessary. So I'm actually upgrading my desk, probably next month. Of course, I'll be filming my trip to Ikea. Make sure you subscribe for that. It's gonna be so fun. I legit can't wait. Overall, it's an okay desk. It's good value. It's a little shallow for the combination of the iMac and my keyboards, but it's lasted this long, so I can't really say anything bad about it, other than with the paint. Moving on, we have my keyboards. Now, this is probably the most volatile part of my setup because they really do chop and change depending on what I want. I'm a huge mechanical keyboards nerd, and at the moment, my favorites are the Akko Ocean Star and the Asceni 60%, which is still my recommendation for the best budget mechanical keyboard. I do also, despite the mechanical keyboards, still sometimes use the Magic Keyboard, and that's honestly because it's just the most convenient keyboard I've ever used. The battery life is great, it never disconnects, and it's pretty convenient for some quick editing, so I do sometimes use it if I don't want that gorgeous clacking sound or if I just want to be a bit lazy. The same goes for my mouse. I actually used to use the MX Master, but after 2 failing on me, I am done. I currently use 2 mice, one for the very casual gaming I do on this thing, and of course the other one's for editing. My gaming mouse of choice is the Corsair Harpoon, mainly because it's so simple that very little can go wrong. Unlike the MX Master, which had like 3 different ways of plugging it in and the side scroll wheel, yeah, the Harpoon is definitely more dumbed down, but it does everything I want it to, and in my use case, the less things that can go wrong on a mouse, the better. My editing mouse of choice at the moment is, again, the Magic Mouse. It does have some really nice features like being able to scroll through the timeline so easily, and of course, like the keyboard, both connection and battery life are great. I probably would like to get another MX mouse soon as a coverall mouse. That said, at the moment, this 2-mouse system does work nicely for me, so I'm in no hurry to make my decision. Next up, we have my actual speakers, which are the PreSonus Erich 3.5s. Again, these are another fantastic fantastic product that I have very little desire to upgrade from. The studio monitors, so they have a very flat sound, which is great for editing, but because they can also be tuned at the back, they're pretty much great for everything. They are smaller than most studio monitors, so they're not the best, but they still managed to get a 1-inch tweeter on this thing, which is pretty much the best in its class. At least at this price point, because these things are seriously cheap. I've used them for mixing my videos over the last year, and they've never let me down. I always get a really good idea of how loud my individual sound effects are, and because of this, I can mix intuitively rather than having to rely on tools, which just takes the fun out of mixing completely. You have to solo things and rely on graphics. It sucks. If you mix a lot of audio, get yourself a pair of studio monitors. Seriously, they're great. In fact, at this point in time, I don't use a pair of headphones at this desk. The PreSonus Eris 3.5s are great for everything that I want to do, and it's that flexibility that's kept me using them over a year later. Finally, for the main part of the desk setup, we have lighting and decor. On the lighting side of things, I have 3 artificial lights on my setup, 1 warm white Pixar lamp, 1 salt lamp, and of course, 1 RGB LED strip. I actually recently got a new RGB LED strip because the old one just kept falling off, and I just really love the look it gave my videos, especially my B-roll. It also works as a nice background separator, but what usually works better is if I use my iMac in unison with these other 2 lights, and that's how I created this look right now. Also, I have a big light here lighting this video. I'm not lighting this video with. Both have a really nice spill on the background wall and just stop it from looking too washed out. I really do hate this wallpaper that I have behind me because it tends to just cast these really gross looking shadows. It's called wood chip and it casts these horrible looking shadows. But I mean, I can try to make it look as nice as possible using all my individual lights. Following this, we have the decor. Now, we've already talked the Trevolo S, but I also keep a few figures behind my iMac on the left, which I also think look pretty nice in B-roll. I have a Deadpool, a Krogan who won't stay standing no matter what I do. I've tried blue tack, nope. Double-sided sticky tape, nope. If any of you know a way I can get this Krogan to stick, please tell me in the comments. Apart from gluing it to the desk, because as I said, I'm replacing it soon. I also have the world-famous Bidoof and a Starly above my desk. I have some art that was all gifted to me from various people. And of course, what setup is complete without the pot plant? Not mine. Next, we're moving on to what I like to call stuff I keep on my desk, but not always. Starting out, we have the Nintendo Switch, which I actually got recently. In this time, it's become one of my favorite gaming consoles. Find out why up there. And I keep my Switch on my desk not only to charge it, but also to distract me from doing any proper work. I'm currently playing Super Mario Maker 2 and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Funny story, I actually went into my local game, which is our equivalent of GameStop, and I went to go get Let's Go Eevee, but it was completely sold out. They only actually had 2 copies left of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I grabbed that game and I am so glad that I did. It is really good. I don't actually have the dock on my desk. I literally just charge it with USB here. I keep the dock in my living room, but realistically, it's spent a lot of time on my desk recently. Another thing I keep on my desk is my Blue Yeti, which is pretty rarely used because I just love the shotgun microphone workflow. This shotgun microphone right here is no joke the best piece of audio equipment I've ever bought. If you make videos, get yourself a shotgun microphone. Your workflow will just do make sure you get a good one though. There are some really bad ones on the market. But if you get it from a company like Shure, Rode, AKG, I know Yeti are doing some good mics at the moment, you're gonna get good audio and the workflow, the time saving is just very good. I also sometimes keep my phone on my desk. At the moment, I'm using the iPhone 10. If you want to see a video on what I keep on my phone, I've already made a video up there. Next up, we have my camera equipment, which, well, I'm using. So just imagine my old broken Panasonic G7 is my GH5. I do have plans to switch to the Canon EOS R fairly soon, so I am still using the kit lens, and of course I'm using the Rode VideoMic, which in my opinion sounds really nice. I tend to keep my video equipment fairly sparse. I mean, I use my camera, a lens, a fluid head tripod, a slider. I don't actually use a gimbal anymore because they just suck for getting close-up shots, which is most of what I do. In the few examples that I found myself using a gimbal, it was just, give me a steady shot, please. It's just not a good experience, so I tend to keep my equipment light, and that way it's also a lot easier for me to travel with my equipment. A more consistent user experience on my end, and overall the finished product just ends up looking a lot better. So what are my plans for the future of this setup? Well, as I said before, I have plans next month to go to Ikea with my friend and get a new desk. I'm also still considering getting a new MX Master, and I'm certainly thinking of getting some speaker stands because the tweeters are supposed to be the same height as my ears, and the only way now that they're going to be the same height as my ears is if I literally just lean back almost that's out of frame. I will first of all have to see how much space I have on the new desk. So I'm gonna get that first, then see how much space I have to work with. All right, guys, so thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, and smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.